Thank you, Marshall. Very nice to be with you all. I'm with the Charles A. and Ann Morrow Lindbergh Foundation. And Charles Lindbergh, there we go. Charles Lindbergh, as some of you may remember, was the first man to fly across the Atlantic Ocean in 1927. And he and his wife were aviation pioneers. And they set up some of the early commercial airline routes around the world. And as they flew across the planet in places where nobody else had ever flown before, they looked down and saw how human development was changing the planet, and they became environmentalists and very concerned. And they were concerned about how technology could be used to balance the environment. And so that's what we do at the Lindbergh Foundation. And we do it mostly in aviation, and we do it in Africa. And we've worked in Africa for a good while now. Doing aviation kind of things in Africa has a unique kind of problem associated with it. Just like, there we go. You know, every once in a while, a giraffe and an airplane don't find coexist in the same location very well. But there are much, much larger problems in Africa, and this is not a very good advanced clicker thing. The biggest problems in Africa are associated with the elephants and the rhinos. There were 40,000 elephants that were killed by poachers in Africa last year and the year before, and 30,000 the year before that. And 100,000 elephants were killed by poachers over just a 3-year period. And at the rate that elephants are being killed, they will be extinct in Africa within 10 years. The same is the case with rhinos. By the way, the problem with elephants is that there's a huge market for ivory in China and the United States. The United States is the second biggest market for ivory. The same is the problem with rhinos. A single rhino horn is more expensive than heroin and gold and other such things. A single rhino horn on the street in Vietnam is worth as much as $750,000. And so that brings a lot of terrorists and organized crime into the business. The problem with that is that the poachers own the night. The poachers operate at nighttime, and the rangers and the other kind of folks have a very hard time operating in the nighttime. And it was that kind of situation that encouraged me to come up with the whole idea of Air Shepard, because I'm a pilot. Used to fly airplanes off of aircraft carriers a long time ago when I was much younger. And what I figured out was that there are drones that you could fly at night that have infrared cameras that could see the animals, and they could see the poachers, and you could radio down to the rangers and tell them where the poachers were, and you could take back the night. And so that's what we do at Air Shepard, is that we have these beautiful little airplanes. They're kind of weird looking, as a matter of fact, but they are highly effective. And we hand launch them on the end of a bungee cord, like a big rubber band. And we operate them out of a vehicle, a command vehicle. And this is a picture of the camera, and it has an infrared camera as well as a daylight camera that are coaxial, that are on the same axis. And the airplanes, this is an early version. I'll show you one of the later ones. We can operate for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and it's all electric, and it flies, and it's silent, and it's invisible. And so the poachers don't know that we're there. This is our command vehicle. It's a very sophisticated equipment. We have 2 operating positions in it. One where the pilot operates the drone, and on the right-hand side is the sensor operator who operates the gimbal that's got the cameras on it. We have put up a mast. You can't see it right here, but put up a 40-foot mast, and we can operate these airplanes 20 miles away from here in the middle of the night. And we are the only ones that are non-military in the world that I think that operate exclusively at night beyond line of sight. Here's a picture of one of our pilots, and this is daytime thing so that you can see them, but at night we can literally see the different kinds of animals, we can see the different vehicles, we can see individuals and people, and this is very, very highly effective. And we work directly with the rangers. We work with their intelligence systems and with our intelligence systems to know where the animals are at a given time, where the likely poachers are going to be. They have spies within the poaching group, and they get intelligence, and so it turns out to be very effective. We design all of our own airplanes, and we have the most advanced aircraft in the world of this type. There's a model of this down at the other end where the exhibits are down there. And this is our new airplane called a Bat Hawk, and it has upwards to 5 hours of endurance. You don't know of a little electric airplane that will fly for 5 hours on one charge. And we operate typically as much as 30 miles away from where we're located, so we have a great deal of reach and lots of endurance. And this aircraft has got a payload that can do batteries and many other kinds of sensors. We're looking at LiDAR, we're looking at radar, we're doing many other kind of things that will generate intelligence and information about where the poachers are operating. We've got about 18 people in our partner, the UAV and Drone Solutions, who are our on-the-ground people in Africa. And they're very sophisticated. They're the best of what they do in the world. Like I think I said, we're the first to have licensed drone pilots in the whole continent of Africa. And our folks are very, very sophisticated and very professional. We have extraordinary technology people. We design a lot of our own capabilities. Here are some of the basic gimbals that are made out of carbon fiber. You can see on the right-hand side here are some 3D printing machines. We carry these in the command vehicle into the field, so if something gets broken, we can manufacture it and repair it in the field. It's, and a lot of this stuff is our own design from out of computer design thing. This is a radar, and we work in combination with a variety of different kind of tactics. We're thinking about different kind of layered things. We're looking at quadcopters, multicopters, as well as fixed-wing airplanes, because there are lots of kind of situations where it may be better to fly real high and look for a large area, and then bring in the multicopter and follow the guys around, because they can do that much better on the ground. We have a growing list of significant supporters, including World Wildlife Fund and Google and South African Airways and Cisco and so on. We're on the back end of about $3 million worth of Google money, and that's being used to open up operations in 4 more countries other than South Africa, where we're operating right now. And so you ask, is this effective? Well, it's extraordinarily effective. What we've found out is that when we fly, the poaching stops. And it's not because we necessarily find the poachers, but because the poachers are afraid of us. And they have an existing spy network, literally, that keep track of our vehicle and when we go out into the field and when we fly, the poaching stops. And that's really quite interesting, because we've flown now 4,000 hours of flights and 2,000 missions. And consistently what we find is that this is the most effective way to stop the poaching there is. We're operating in 2 different places in South Africa every day, in Kruger Park up in the upper northeast up there, and down in KwaZulu-Natal, which is the red area. We're working our way and have late-stage discussions with Mozambique and Zimbabwe and Zambia and Botswana and Malawi, and within about 3 months we'll be flying in 5 different countries. This is a picture of a rhino who's had her horn cut off by a poacher and her little baby, and we feel very strongly that this is an extraordinarily effective effort to essentially save these wonderful animals from completely becoming extinct within the next 10 years. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Yes, ma'am.
So are the poachers, oh, thanks. Are the poachers advanced enough that, technology-wise, that if some of them find out where you are tonight, they can get it to other poachers and say, okay, go to the other side of the area?
Well, that's a good question, because there's a whole lot of money in this. And so, like I say, organized crime and terrorist groups are literally putting money into it and putting teams in and coming down from Sudan and a variety of other places. And they're also starting to use more advanced technology, but we're way up on the leading edge of this. And one of the problems is that the airplanes are invisible and they're silent, so they don't know where the airplanes are. And they may know that we're operating, but they don't know, and it goes anywhere from a 30-mile radius. And so, so far, if we're driving them, I mean, we're limited to where we fly, and so maybe they go to another place, but they don't operate where we are. Yes, ma'am.
Drones a lot of times have a negative connotation. Have you run into
Really?
governments being afraid of what you're doing and have to prove your purpose, or what's happened there?
Everybody wants me to put a machine gun on these things. Now, there's a huge pressure in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa against anti-poaching now, and it's international and it's global. And so countries, I went to Botswana to talk to Botswana, and the ambassador to Botswana, when I sat down with him in Washington, the first thing he said to me was, the animals are a national security asset in our country. And he said, our whole economy is based upon tourism and everything, and if the animals go away, our economy collapses. And so you've got to talk to the Botswana Defense Force, because our military are the ones who are responsible for the animals. And so so they set me up to go to see the military, and I go into a room, and there's 3 two-star generals and one one-star generals and 6 colonels, and they are serious. And let me tell you, you don't want to be a poacher in the back end of those guys. And so, I mean, so it depends on what country you're in and so on, but we've got nothing but universal approval from everybody. They really are excited about this. Yes, sir.
Once the the drone spots the poachers, what actually happens after that?
Well, it depends on which country it is, and it depends on what the laws are and so on. I mean, and that's really kind of out of our hands. Sometimes they get put in jail, sometimes that they're fined, sometimes they die on the way. You know, there's just lots of different kind of ways that these folks deal with that. Yes, ma'am.
What are you using to communicate between the drones and your team on the ground? It looked like maybe satellite?
Yeah. Good. We have a mast on our vehicle that's a telescoping mast, and it goes up 40 feet, and it's got an antenna. And the antenna autonomously follows the airplane around, and that's how we can get a 30-mile range and get back. We've got numerous kind of telemetry and other kind of data feeds. We have to control the airplane. We need to get the video back. There's a variety of kind of things. And so that's what we're doing right now. What we're ultimately going to do and what we're working on is putting in place broad coverage across whole game parks of advanced kind of, think of it as Wi-Fi. It's not Wi-Fi, but it's like Wi-Fi, and what that means is that instead of having to drive the vehicle out somewhere, we can sit in a secure place, and we can launch the airplanes, and anywhere that we have coverage, we can control the airplane from one place. And so now nobody knows where you are, and you're in a secure place, and you're not out there in the middle of the night with the lions and the whatever. I've been out there. I mean, it's pretty interesting. It's really black, and you'd have no idea. The first thing they do when they launch the airplane is make a circle around, looking down to find out if there's any wild animals around or poachers or something to make sure you don't get hurt. Yes, sir.
So what does it look like for you to scale? How many drones do you need? What is it going to be to be effective, and how are you going to get there?
I need 45 teams, and I can work all the way up to Kenya, and I can, within the next 5 years, I think that we can effectively suppress the poaching such that it gets down to where it's manageable. It never goes away. But if you work that, we work the supply side, and there's wonderful people that are working on the demand side in Vietnam and in China and in the U.S. and so on. And if we can get in there and all of us work together at the same time, what we can do is get this down to a level where it's not existential, where the animals, you know, that they reproduce more than they kill them. But as long as there's a market for this stuff, it's really hard to, you're never going to shut it down, or not in the near term. Yes, sir.
But have you had the chance to look at using maybe automation to try to increase flight hours?
Using what?
Automation.
Automation? Yes, as a matter of fact. We have an interesting kind of problem because we don't see any poachers because they're afraid and they don't come out. And so our operators have to go out for 5 and 6 hours every night and just sit there and look day after day after that. And they go 3 weeks at a time working every night. And after a while, the Air Force drone operators, by the way, they're finding out that they got the same kind of problem. They're kind of go crazy after a while. And so what we're looking for, and we're working with some folks in Silicon Valley, is to do pattern recognition algorithms so that we can put that in the video stream that comes from the airplanes, and it looks for anomalies, and it looks for animals, or it looks for humans, or whatever it turns out, so that the operators can only respond by exception when the you know, something comes up. So then you don't, then, you know, there's a little, it becomes a little more, you know, you can, easy to deal with.
Any other questions? We have 3 minutes left here with John, so definitely pick his brain.
Thank you. Oh, no, we got one. Another one.
I'm just wondering if you, so you're kind of in the South Africa region, are you going to expand like up into North Africa and kind of go more into like Garamba National Park and other kind of poaching operations that are happening there?
Yeah, can we expand? Right now, infrared sensors only work where it's relatively open, right? If you look down and you see a tree and there's an elephant under a tree, you see the tree, you don't see the elephant. But new technology is coming along, and so you need open space in general. New technology, extraordinary new technology, LiDAR, and there are radars and other kind of things in small little chips that are designed for these are coming along. So now we can expand into high cover jungle areas, you know, rainforest kind of areas. And there are a lot of elephants that are rainforest elephants, but right now, and we've got people wanting this. We talked to Jane Goodall's folks, and they want us to come and do the gorillas, but you know, we can't see gorillas right now, but ultimately we could. And then there's the whole issue with the lions that are on the back end of this thing, but it's a kind of a function of technology right now. Yes, sir.
Sort of like concerns with like security, like have the poachers tried to go after you guys to, you know, to stop you guys from stopping them from?
Yeah, the security thing is an interesting one. We've never had any problems with it so far. And like I say, we go up and we sweep the area first of all and make sure that we see everything that's on the ground. And so far, that's not been an issue. In general, they shut down the parks at sunset. And so anything that moves in there that isn't an animal isn't supposed to be there. And so they give themselves away fairly easily if they're in the area. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Oh.
One more. So could you talk just a little bit more about when you decided this was what you were going to do? Was it an aha moment, or was it something that just kind of evolved?
You know, I'm an airplane guy. I build an airplane. I'm a pilot. I fly aerobatics and stuff. And I sat down with we helped the Kenya Wildlife Service get 2 of their airplanes in their air wing. And I was talking to the guy one day about 4 years ago, and he was telling me how that they were shooting at the pilots in these little Piper Cub kind of airplanes. And that separately, you know, they'd crashed one, and the pilot had died. And I know about how expensive airplanes are and all the restrictions in them. You know, you don't want to be flying around at night with no things in one of those little airplanes around there. And so it occurred to me that drones were kind of an ideal kind of platform because you could do the infrared. And so I ran around to 6 different drone manufacturers in the country, and they said, oh, yeah, sure, we sell these to the government. Just bring us $2.5 million and we'll give you 1 airplane. And so I had to work my way back and find little airplanes like this one, which are $12,000, but they just really work. So thank you all.